Let me give you a hypothetical. You love a game. It's incredibly dear to you. You've played it a lot, you can always go back to it, and it's a game that you always want to recommend to people. But then, all of a sudden, a game reviewer, maybe even one you respected, comes out and says the unthinkable. They didn't like the game, and they thought it was bad. Not only that, but they shared that outlook with tons of people on the internet. Do you, A, consider their catalog of work to see what exactly they may or may not look for in a game, and then contextualize why they may not have liked it and move on? Or do you start a massive campaign on why this person is wrong in every way and point out that nobody should ever go to them for opinions or reviews ever again? Now, if you're a sensible human being, you probably chose the second. I mean the first. And yeah, if I'm being honest, the second mostly just encompasses a small group of very loud people. And to be honest, it isn't even really about me either, as I've never had those people speak out about one of my videos. But whether they target me or not, I still find it really irritating. I think it's wrong that people in fields of journalism or critique have to walk on eggshells when they talk bad or even good about specific games. And you see it everywhere. Even with heavily opinionated people, there always has to be a disclaimer of, this is just my opinion. Obviously. I personally don't go to reviews for pure objectivity. I think that's stupid. I want to know what this person thought about a game, so it'd be dumb of me to assume what they're saying is a fact or an attack on me. Not to say it's a crime that people have to specify, hell, I've been doing it too, but if I'm being honest, I don't want to anymore. And that's what I want to get into with this video. Why I personally will be trying to avoid constantly pointing out that something is my opinion, and also exploring my taste as a whole using Final Fantasy 1 as my baseline. Now, this video will be a completely unfocused mess, so let me try to explain what I'm doing. Personally, when I go to a review from Nitro Red, some call me Johnny, Donkey, any of them, what I'm looking for is their opinions, and almost all of their opinions on each game they talk about will be consistent with what they've established as their taste. Just as an example, I don't like survival games. I think they're boring slugs and they never keep my attention. So if I was to review a game like Pal World, it'd be from a lens of, hey, survival games aren't fun, I don't like this one either. And what the reaction of people who disagree with me should realistically be, well, he doesn't like survival games, why would he have enjoyed Pal World? Does that mean I can't talk about those games on my channel? No. Again, obviously. I'm gonna try out different games, and if I have something to say, I'm gonna say it. The consistency of what I say means that my taste is easier to understand, and in my eyes, completely trumps the need to specify that what I'm saying is my opinion. So this video is technically going to be split into two parts, both of which explore different outlooks, expectations, and biases I have when I play a game, but each are going to be more than viewable on their own. We'll start with the first thing you see when a game is revealed. The presentation. Now, there's two camps here. People who view good presentation as an addition to an already great experience, but don't see awful presentation as a game killer, or the straw man I just made up who won't play a video game without any good graphics. Yes, people do tend to hone in on bad graphics when they pop up, but it rarely actually hits game sales. Unless it's a fighting game where visuals are inherently tied to why people play them, and yeah, that's something I'm going to be looking at eventually. But with a game like Final Fantasy, it's kind of funny because if someone's purchasing Final Fantasy 1 on current platforms, it's for the crisp visuals and incredible music of the Pixel remaster. But here's the thing, when I first played Final Fantasy, it was on a browser emulator and looked like this. So it never has been a massive thing for me. Now, I do like some good visuals and clean performance, but as long as I'm having fun, graphics kind of fall by the wayside for me personally. I usually only notice if they're really good or really bad. Otherwise, Final Fantasy's got a decent presentation and amazing music. One thing I'm not going to talk about too much in this video is story. Now, games can have bad stories and I won't care as long as the gameplay is good. Mind you, I'll be skipping the cutscenes, but that doesn't mean I don't love a good story. Xenoblade, for example. I'm not a huge fan of this game's battle mechanics, but I really, really love the story, and that's what kept me going. But with Final Fantasy, what story? It's a small episodic D&D campaign. It's about exploration and gameplay, not story. You go here, get a thing, go here, do a thing, kill a boss, light a crystal, upgrade your classes. It's pretty simple. The story isn't bad, it's just that with what we're talking about, this game shouldn't be used as an example of how I like my stories. That's mainly why this video is in two parts, as the next video will be digging into what I look for in stories way better than this one could with its subject matter. Now for the easy part, The gameplay. I love RPGs, and I love turn-based combat. Not sure if you could tell. And while this game doesn't go insane in the gameplay department, there's a reason that I would call it my baseline. It's turn-based, simple combat with a strict but fun class system. Warrior hit hard and tank, mage use magic, and die. Basically every class splits off from there. If you say turn-based RPG, this is where my mind's gonna go to. No gimmicks, just pure menuing, baby. Yeah. Now, what I truly love with most combat systems is how they add on to what Final Fantasy has through things like active time battle or press turn, or just making type matchups more important. But in terms of something comfortable that I can just relax and enjoy without thinking too hard, this is it. I think it's obvious, but I'll say it anyways. It's not like I only want games with turn-based combat. I love most genres. I just say RPGs and turn-based ones are especially my favorite. And again, this is the baseline. And I will say, even though Final Fantasy will only run you 10 to 15 hours, usually less than that, I think turn-based combat that constantly evolves as you get more options and attacks is a much easier way to keep me engaged than a combat system that doesn't really evolve but still runs the same amount of time. It's a very open system that can apply to both easy games and ultra difficult ones. And with this one, while it's not brain-teasing by any means, it's also not brain-dead. And I appreciate that. Now, I actually have a very particular yet heavy bias towards an outside aspect of games that I feel like is at least attempted to be looked over by other critics and especially outlets, but I fucking refuse. Final Fantasy is a complete game at a good price, and it doesn't try to get me to pay anything more. My fucking god, I hate modern game companies. I hate the constant layoffs, the horrid people running them, and I hate how it's been affecting games now. When I buy a game that's up to $70 and then also get asked to pay more through microtransactions or day one DLC, it instantly will make my opinion on the game harsher. I'm not against all DLC. If you make a game and then later add on some more stuff for a fee, that's one thing, but I'm talking content that has been separated day one that you need to pay real money for. And no, I don't think not having to buy it or being able to ignore the microtransactions is a good excuse. It's predatory, it's gross, and it can actively affect a game's balance. Look at Overwatch 2 or any modern Ubisoft game. These games wouldn't have microtransactions if they didn't want you to buy them. That's why a lot of them are so much more grindy than games before. And this sort of thing absolutely will give me a negative slant towards a game. Does it mean I'll hate it? No, absolutely not. I still enjoy Modern Persona, SMT, Team Fortress 2, but it will make me go in more cynically, and I'm not going to apologize for it. Now, something that surprisingly I don't have a negative bias towards is a game being more archaic. What I mean is older games with weirder mechanics that might require things like guides or instructions to go through. I used to hate the idea, but nowadays I'm happy to boot up some older RPGs with a guide and sometimes even translations on a second monitor. Now, this is a big hurdle for a lot of people, and that's totally fine, totally understandable. But when I go into a game, whether it be for critique, analysis, or recommendation, the fact that I might have a map or a GameFAQs guide open or an enemy strategy doesn't hinder the game for me. If anything, it just proves that I'm already engaged enough to want to learn more. Now, Final Fantasy 1 is only kind of technically one of these. I feel with each re-release and retranslation, the game got significantly easier to understand. It's harder to get lost, the mechanics all work totally fine, and at most you'll just need a pointer where to go next sometimes, especially near the end of the game. But like I said, the first time I played this was on the NES, with a guide handy at all times. I think that taking a game with both its limitations and our modern advantages in mind helps you enjoy it more no matter its age. And yeah, I'd say that counts for the random encounters too. Though, honestly, I feel like that's more of an understandable deal breaker, but that's just me. Finally, I want to go into what I think a lot of people miss when it comes to critiques, and that's comfort zones. A lot of people prefer to stick with their comfort zones with games while others don't want to venture out to enjoy something they may or may not like. For me, I'm in the middle. I always want to try different games and new experiences. However, as you can tell from my channel, it's easier for me to engage with things that I'm obviously already in a familiar place with. I don't know how I'd be able to critique something like Minecraft because in general, I struggle to engage with its gameplay. But any game with a gameplay style I'm already familiar or happy with will more than likely get a much more glowing first impression. It's the most obvious bias and one that a lot of people are afraid to admit. For me, it's platformers, RPGs, some action games, and basically any game that's not 20 hours long or more. I have a very low attention span and not a lot of patience with games that don't instantly hook me. That's my main bias with any games. I don't avoid long games, but it's less likely I'll finish them than a comfortable 10-hour long game like Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 1 is still an incredibly special game to me. It's incredibly simple in terms of combat, it's pretty easy to figure out in terms of mechanics, and I still enjoy the class system a lot, even though I will rarely ever change from the current setup you're looking at right now. And the reason that I would call call it my baseline is because I don't think that there's anything that really stands out and goes crazy for me, positively or negatively. If you want an example of a game that I like and that I expect other games to at least be as good as, at least when it comes to RPGs, it would be this one. And if there's any lesson to take from this, it's that obviously it's just my opinion. Just my outlook. And the reason I'm making these videos is to fully explore that outlook, to look at my biases, my preferences, so that when I make critiques or analysis, people won't need me to hold their hand and constantly preface everything I do with a disclaimer of subjectivity. Not to say I don't respect their opinions that disagree with mine. Obviously, that's not true. I don't think the conversation ends with the video's close. Even if I or another critic doesn't respond, as long as people keep talking about the game or topic, your opinions will matter. It's just for me, I don't want to or need to baby my audience for my opinion to matter or for it to be seen as mine. And I hope this video and the next one will create a good baseline for the consistency of my voice, and that all of you will finally understand that I'm never coming back.